When I say technically resourceful, it's like having problem solving skills, adaptability, or envisioning the future, looking at the larger picture. So when you're manufacturing a product or writing a piece of code, you got to be looking at how are my end users going to be using it. See, if you're designing a brake for a truck, you got to visualize saying where else is this truck going to go, what is the type of load that it's going to carry, what kind of terrain it's going to go in.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host, Zia at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end to end, one view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for Human Capital Management, that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Rangaraj Bhatracharya. Rangaraj is the CEO at WeMove Solutions. He's a learning consultant, theatre-based facilitator, certified POS trainer, keynote speaker, storyteller, mentor for e-learning at BITS Pilani, as well as a mentor for startups at IITK. He is a tech enthusiast and believes that it is essential to make employees technically resourceful as well as proficient in soft skills. We're thrilled to get into conversation with you today. Welcome to peopleHum.
Thank you, Zia. It's a pleasure, and thanks for peopleHum to invite me.
Of course. So the first question I had for you is, you're the CEO of WeMove Solutions. Could you tell us a bit about the ideologies of this company and how it came to be?
So the main ideology of WeMove Solutions is to actually enable the corporates to do better. So that's what is the main thought behind it. So what we have always been striving to do is not just look at IT companies as such, but also companies across different sectors, and help them with different areas where they can improve and do a lot better. So that's the main vision of it, and how it came into existence is. Actually, I was in the tech industry when I started off with my career, and also the co-founder of WeMove, Abhishek. So both of us were in the tech industry, and both of us were back then running a theater company called as WeMove Theater. Somewhere down the lane in our experience of work, and as and when we went through a lot of soft skill trainings in the IT industry, we felt that these skills can actually be done in a much better way than what's being done today. And we kind of found that connecting theater is one art form which can not only make it entertaining but also helps with all the skills, because all the skills that we speak of, be it communication, teamwork, problem solving, or presentation skills, or today storytelling is another buzzword that's catching up in terms of skills. So all these skills are something that we learned as theater practitioners while we were doing theater. So with that thought, we started off experimenting in the companies that we worked, and a few companies where our friends worked. And we did these experiments for a couple of years, and then we realized it works, and people were willing to pay money for it, and also people were willing to, adapt this new process. So that's where we quit our IT jobs and started Vimo Solutions.
That's actually very, very interesting, to like hear your background in tech and theater and the whole way that this all came about. So, my next question for you is, in a previous conversation that we had, you highlighted while employees need to be technically resourceful, the development of soft skills is equally essential. Could
Right.
you elaborate on that for our viewers?
Sure. So when I say employees need to be technically resourceful, what I actually mean is the employees should not be dependent on technology. Like say the recent surveys of World Economic Forum or any other HR related portals and skill development portals that's been doing these surveys over the last couple of years, you'll see there is a growing trend saying that soft skills are becoming more important than technological skills. So, in fact, World Economic Forum, I think this year published up the top five skill requirements for 2025. Not even a single technology exists there in that. But instead, what it actually speaks about is, it speaks about team building, critical thinking, communication, problem solving, working as a team. These skills actually sit in the top. So, what I actually mean is employees should be technology independent, because there is a growing change in the way our technology is being adapted. And when we look at growing fields like whether it's AI, ML, IoT, or if you look at the engineering sector, there is Industry 4.0 that's coming in. So these technologies are all budding technologies, and budding areas of work, which is going to be the future. So we still don't know what technological piece works. So there is a good chance that someone who's worked in a technology for about a year or so might have to switch suddenly and learn a new technology. It's not going to be like the old days, right? Where someone learned C or C++, you could code on it for like say 30 years, 35 years. Or if you learned .NET or Java or COBOL or any of such programming languages and technologies, you could go on. You could go on for like say 15 years, 20 years. Same thing with the engineering field also. There was one way of working on sorry there was one way of working on designing automobiles or manufacturing these automobiles or any other things. Those stood there and waited, but that's not going to happen now. It's going to change. So for people to be technically resourceful, so when I say technically resourceful, it's like having problem solving skills, adaptability, or envisioning the future, looking at the larger picture. So when you're manufacturing a product or writing a piece of code, you got to be looking at how are my end users going to be using it. See, if you're designing a brake for a truck, you got to visualize saying where else is this truck going to go? What is the type of load that it's going to carry? What kind of terrain it's going to go in? Or when I'm writing a piece of software, if I'm writing it for an ATM machine, I need to understand what kind of people are going to use the ATM machine. So to build this visualization in us and look at what's going to happen in the future, soft skills are the only things that's going to help. So you got to do that, you got to talk to more and more people and get to requirements. To talk, you need communication skills. You got to stop working in silos as a team saying that I'm working on this piece, I'm going to stick to that. You can't do that. You'll have to talk to the other teams, understand how other teams are working with each other, share questions, debate with each other, try to find faults with what each other is doing, create a system. So when you are supposed to create something, that definitely comes only with soft skills. So that is where I meant soft skills is going to be the front seat, and the World Economic Forum and many other forums have identified that, and they say soft skills is going to be the next set. That's the future skills that's going to be needed.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more on this with you. And it's very, important to kind of develop these soft skills and understand the importance of them, because I think a lot of technological advancements kind of are being put on the forefront. So, sometimes people can forget the importance of actually focusing and developing your soft skills and not just, understanding technology and their advancements.
Right. So our focus should be on using the technology to create things
Yes,
and not just learn technologies, because just learning technologies is not going to help us. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, I see a lot of focus at a lot of colleges also today, which is, I wouldn't, I'm not directly saying it's a wrong thing, but definitely it's not the correct way of looking at it, where they've started introducing new technologies into the college curriculums. And, especially in Karnataka, where you have a lot of deemed universities, and in Bangalore, they're introducing latest tools and latest technologies to come in. But what the colleges are also still not focusing on is teaching the kids how to do problem solving. Then you can teach them the technology.
Correct. Absolutely. That is very, very true. So the next thing, that I wanted to ask you was a little bit more about, HR and learning. So we've come to use the term culture a lot in the HR domain, company culture, employee culture, etc. How would you say learning plays a vital role in establishing cultures?
That's going to be a long answer. So let me start by saying something very simple. Like say, learning culture is very important. A lot of times when I've had a chat with leaders, they say always use this term saying that HR is the heart of an organization, right? But I differ in that. I tell them always HR is the heart and brain of the organization. It's not just the heart. HR should be leading from the front. Now, let's take this pandemic for example. The companies that have actually made through over this 9-10 months with the least damage are the companies that I have seen in my experience where HR has been leading things. So when we say learning, it's not just learning and development or running a set of trainings, but also as a HR, what are the other initiatives that you're doing? right? So one of the things like what we did along with the HRs is we launched this whole new thing called as GameEve, which is an online theater experience. Now the HRs came up to us with a problem. The reason I'm giving this example is, just for people to understand how HR should not limit themselves into one area. Right. So a couple of our clients actually came up to us and said, hey, my people are working from their homes. It's been about 6 months or 7 months they have been working, and we have tried different engagement activities, but it's not breaking the silos. We want teams to come together. So they identified a problem and came to us for a solution. So we designed this new concept called Gamey, where it's an online theater experience. Where one of the things was that teams coming together, they behave like they are the CBI or any other crime branch. So they become the investigators, and our actors become the suspects, and you interrogate them online to solve a murder mystery. Now, this is one of the things where, so this particular exercise, what we did was a huge hit. We started off with one team and we worked with multiple teams, multiple organizations. So, but what it actually shapes and talks about is not the innovation that you're getting in the market, but it's about the culture within the organization where they want to try something new. They don't want to stick. So what actually defines the HR culture or the culture of the organization is what initiatives can you actually take within the organization. How can you redefine the learning experience? See, today, for a long time, the learning is being focused as how we did it in schools. It's about pushing more content. But the learning culture in an organization should not be about pushing more content. It should be about creating that experience which actually ignites something in your employees, in your learners, where they should go look for content. So, with one of our clients, we introduced this concept called a 70-20-10, which is a huge success for them inside their organization. Where what we did was we said 70% of your learning happens in your cubicles when you're working, 10% happens in terms of the classroom learning initiatives that we take, and 20% is the learning. And that 10% of learning was completely focused on creating an experience. It was not at all about pushing content, making them understand the concept, making them understand how it works. You want to further learn about it, we gave reference materials in terms of books, what they can read, and daily activities that they can practice. And we said, go ahead and do it. It works. So what that company did was they took away all form of classroom trainings in terms of PPT for an entire year. But they did it for 2 years, where they took off everything that mattered with PPT trainings, and every other training in terms of soft skills was replaced with the experiential learning, and they found a huge difference. So this is what defines the culture of the organization. Now, where this organization did not have to spend money was on trying to do something new in terms of engagement, trying to do something new in terms of learning. You didn't have to force people to come into the classrooms anymore, because it's not information download, it's a new experience. So people started flocking in for trainings. So this is an example of it. So the culture, to put it in one sentence, is what you do as an organization that can make your employees go ahead and explore boundaries by breaking their own challenges. That is what defines the culture of an organization, and only the HR is responsible for it. It cannot happen within the cubicles if it is not driven by the HR.
Absolutely. And culture is very important, and it's one of the very important areas that HR, kind of works to kind of improvise in. And certainly, HR is a very, very significant part of organizations. And it's really nice to see now that, working in the HR space right now myself, it's really nice to see how organizations are accepting and more willing to kind of, acknowledge the importance of having an HR department itself and actually giving it that importance. So,
Right.
a lot of what you said was regarding experiences, and that kind of brings me to my next question, which is how can one build experiences that are not only enjoyable but long lasting?
To do that again, the HR has to drive everything. So see, there are a couple of things here. So it's like look at it this way, where as an organization, okay, you want to build an experience, but you want to build it long lasting. the first thing you'll have to identify is what is that I want to do. A lot of times, what I've seen is that people actually do trainings because it's part of their KRA or a checklist, right? Now, it should not happen either by the HR just because I'm in the L&D space or I'm in the HR space. I have to organize so many trainings, I'll do it. That should not happen. Neither the employee should be going to a training because it's part of the KRA. Yes, to motivate an employee to come in, if you put it as a part of the KRA, at least they'll put an effort to come in there. That part I can understand. But at least for the HR, that should not happen. And second is these every training that is being done at an organization should be very targeted and focused to address a specific problem that the HR and the businesses together will have to sit and identify. So that disconnect, as long as that exists, it's not going to help. So the HRs will also have to put an effort to talk to the businesses, see what kind of work is happening. I'm not saying they'll have to understand every technological aspect of it or the technical aspect of it, but just understand the business a little bit. Then talk to the business leaders and understand what kind of challenges that they are having. Taking that, then identify what actually helps you to build an experience to achieve this learning. Say theater is one example of doing it. There is one way of doing it through theater. There is people who have done used music, people have used mime, people have used art, people have used painting. So depending on the kind of a learning target that you have identified, then design the experience around it. That way what happens is the learning should always be unique. Say if you've tried acting one time, the next time your session should not be around acting. For a different topic, it has got to be something drastically different, right? So each time when you're trying to create a new experience and and each experience is targeted towards a learning, the impact is long lasting because the moment you experience something, if you like it, it's going to stay with you forever. So we have seen people remembering a learning from a session for more than 4 years because purely that the experience is new each time you've walked in. So that's the way to do it. So first identify the need and then build an experience around it. But a few times I've seen people doing it the other way around. They identify, okay, what is different, and then try to retrofit the learning need into it. That's not going to help.
Absolutely. That's very, very true. And, we all kind of hold on to the things that interest us the most. And, this is a very like valuable way and very important lesson actually for organizations to think about when they're designing the kind of experiences that they build for their employees. So thank you for that. Thank you for speaking with us today. It was a great conversation and I wish you and your business all the best.
Thank you. Pleasure. Same to you as well. Thanks a lot for inviting me to come in and speak with you guys.
Of course.